Waking up, brewing some coffee and turning on my favorite computer of all time and hearing those familiar sounds as I load up an old favorite. Over 40 years later, the C64 never gets old, and the announcement of any new game for it gets me way more excited than any AAA release that the media tries to throw in my face. April 1st, 2024 was the day I found out about Timo's Castle, a new C64 action platform adventure game to be released in May, put together by some of the guys that did 2023's Bill and Ted's Game Boy port to the C64. It was a really good day. I was lucky enough to get to interview Roman Werner, designer, coder, and graphics part of the team, Pixelbrei Games, who put together this fine piece of software, but I'll let him introduce himself.
My name is Roman Werner, I'm from Zurich, Switzerland, and I am the lead designer, coder and pixel shifter for Timo's Castle. I'm part of the team Pixelbrei Games, next to Ben Dibbert, well known as 8-bit musician under the label Nordic Sound, and Timo Weingärtner, the producer who triggered this whole project with his dream to be part of making a C64 game. Both my friends are from Germany.
The story for the game sees Timo's parents murdered in a mysterious way, with the crime remaining unsolved. Timo inherits a castle he never knew his rich parents owned and heads out with his girlfriend to check the place out. It is, however, occupied and haunted by an evil witch in the cellar, and she captures Timo's girlfriend. It's now up to you to traverse the 8 stages of the haunted castle and destroy the witch and free your beloved. The game itself is a love letter to Henry's House, a 1984 C64 release published by English Software and created by Chris Murray, a fun 8-level single-screen action platformer with clever attention to detail and well thought out tricky stages with their own personalities. Timo's Castle does an excellent job of taking these elements, replicating them, and of course improving on them, giving the game a new modern C64 new wave feel in looks and sound, and of course adding its own personality into the mix. I first asked Roman how long this game's been in development for.
Timo contacted me in October 2023 with a very passionate email. He asked me if I could support him in making his dream come true of being part of a C64 game development team. I usually work on my own, but thought that this would be something quite nice, to have a trustworthy partner in crime to work out ideas and share regular feedback. Timo's favorite C64 game used to be Henry's Castle, made in 1984, and so we started this journey based loosely on that single-screen platformer concept, where household things move around and some little actions are triggered while you explore the room. Since then we have invested most of our spare time and weekends to work on this game. Ben joined the team in January 2024 and contributed not only great music but also brought in fresh ideas how to make this game to something special.
The basic gameplay of Timo is one of action platformer variety. The castle is broken down into 8 rooms, each filled with enemies, haunted objects, and simple but very clever puzzle elements. You basically have to collect all the objects in a stage before a key is revealed. Grab the key and head for the exit to go to the next room. Sounds easy? Well, it's not that simple. The game is filled with unique elements, not only platforming, but as you pick up certain items, new elements are added to the room. More enemies come out of the woodwork, or items collected affect the room in some way, allowing you to continue collecting or opening new paths. I love how it makes what could be a very straightforward level into something fun to explore, with each major item triggering various elements. Every room feels different, like its own little puzzle, with things to discover and atmosphere to soak up. The game sports 2 difficulty settings. Normal has a timer, but if you want to take your time, easy eliminates that altogether. Another cool element, like Henry's House, is once you get to a new room, if you die you can continue from there and it doesn't slap you all the way back to the beginning, which is a nice touch. I asked Roman what was it about Henry's House that inspired the team to make this modern homage to it.
What I like about Henry's House is that it is colorful and has a distinctive style in mixing high-res and multicolor elements, and every room has its own characteristics and fun-looking enemies. The game is quite hard, but it was a nice feature that you could continue from the level you last lost your lives.
I really love the graphic style of this game. It feels retro, but it's very modern new wave C64 in style, with a massive attention to detail, mixing in traditional sprites and some high res in an exceptional way. The colors are so vibrant and pop out. Each stage has its own color scheme, and I also like how the whole screen is implemented with a particular color which works its way into the background design. Considering this whole game game is a single loader, it's very impressive. The animation is great, with each enemy having its own little pattern, background graphics as well, and many animations are triggered as the levels progress. Visually, it is so much fun to look at, and there's plenty of visual references to 80s and 90s movies and pop culture. They are all over the place, from references to Rocky Balboa and The Evil Dead and so much more. It's always fun to try to spot all these little Easter eggs. I asked Roman what major challenges did they encounter while putting this game together.
I had to make an early decision whether I want to make a single or multi-load game, and decided for the single. It just has its clear limits, and the amount of memory dictates more or less when the game is finished. I wasn't even sure if I could manage to squeeze character data, music, sprites and code for 8 rooms all into 64K. Somehow worked, and we could even make room for a final screen. But at the end it was a tedious job to find a byte here and there to implement the last touches.
The soundtrack gives you warm and fuzzy feelings with its upbeat but slightly deadly feeling, capturing the vibe of the castle adventure. And the Scottish bagpipes have never sounded better in a C64 game. Nordish Sound really delivers a memorable soundtrack with a special track waiting for you once you complete the game. He also provides all the sound effects and musical cues in the game itself, which, like the visual cues, pay homage to pop culture of the past. I really got a good chuckle out of "Are you keeping up with the Commodore" jingle that's in there, plus many other little touches that'll make you smile. Lovely tunes by Nordish Sound, and proves he's just as good at making original music as he is at covering 80s and 90s pop rock tracks in SID form. I also asked Roman if he could give us a little bit more detail on the rest of the team that worked on Timo's Castle.
Timo Weingärtner is the producer, tester, bug hunter, and the man with the initial idea and vision for the game, and well connected in the Commodore scene. Timo and I decided early on that we wanted a hand-drawn cover art for our game. Timo managed to establish contact with the Turkish cover artist Ogan Kandemiroglu. The name should ring some bells, since the Kandemiroglu brothers were responsible in the 80s and 90s for various stunning magazine and game covers, including the Terrican series, and Ogan drew us a fantastic cover. Timo is also a dedicated movie fan and loves everything from the 80s, in particular Sylvester Stallone, and don't be surprised to find some evidence on that in our game. Ben Dibbett, on the other hand, does not need any introduction, since he is well known in the 8-bit music scene. As Nordish Sound, he usually produces one great cover song after the other and shares his creations on YouTube, Spotify and many other music-related channels. I had already worked with him in context with my C64 conversion of Bill and Ted's excellent Game Boy adventure last year, and feel honored to have him in the team. He also did a fantastic job for Timo's Castle.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
The Commodore 64 Arcade Multi-Version Special.
Overall, I had a blast with this game. It literally came out of nowhere and surprised the hell out of me, in a pleasant way, of course. It's filled with a lot of passion and design, and even the small touches are delightful, from Timo's Sonic the Hedgehog style animation if you leave the controller, to pressing the spacebar to take his glasses on and off. The game is filled with so much detail. As I was making this video, the game will be available in digital form in PAL format for use on the Mini, Maxi, Vice, and of course real hardware. NTSC is being considered as I make this video, plus Bitmap Soft will be releasing a full physical boxed edition of the game as well. More info on the details are still being finalized, and I'll leave links to the digital game and Bitmap Soft in the video description. My final question to Roman was, with the C64's limitations, why still make a new game for the computer in the modern age?
C64 was basically my first computer, and the blue start screen always gives me happy vibes. It is so low level that it's completely on you if something works or not. I see the limitations actually as a blessing. Every C64 developer has more or less the same starting point, and it still fascinates me today what other people come up with. Also, I think the retro scene is much more appreciative than other game platform users. It is so much more rewarding to release an 8-bit game than something made for the iPhone, for example.
Timo's Castle. What else can I say? A really fun arcade romp made with a lot of love for the old Bray box. Thumbs up from me.